Hello, Simmers. This is your captain speaking. This will be a short video, instructional in nature, just to go over the various external lights that one finds on aircraft. Uh, I will be using the Icon A5 as an example, but generally speaking, you'll find these uh, external lights on all types of aircraft if they have lights. Not every aircraft has lights. If it's designed to fly only during the day, then there may be some aircraft that do not have any lights at all. Ultralight aircraft, for example, usually have no lights. But for the most part, general aviation and commercial aviation use the same kind of light, at least in principle. And so let's take a look at the lights that we find on the Icon A5 and see if we can understand a little bit about what their purpose is and when they are used. For this, we'll go inside the aircraft. And before we can do anything with the external lights, we need to get some internal lights so we can see what we're doing here. In fact, the master has to be on in order for us to be doing anything here. So let's see if we can get that turned on. Here we go. Hopefully we can complete this without turning the engine on and running the battery down. All of the Icon A5 lights are found right in this row, and which makes it convenient to discuss. The Icon is a very easy airplane to fly comparatively. A lot of the instruments that you find on other aircraft are not in the Icon, being deemed to be non-essential by the manufacturers. And they tried to make it as easy as possible so that nearly anyone could learn to fly this aircraft. All right. First of all, let's talk about the navigation lights. Navigation lights, in fact, all of the lights on the outside of well, I'll take that back. Some of the lights on the outside of the aircraft are not for the purpose of the aircraft itself, but for other aircrafts, pilots and other aircraft. Their purpose is to make the aircraft easily seen from a distance, and they don't provide any illumination for the aircraft pilot. That is not the case with the taxi lights and the landing lights, obviously, and we'll talk about those in a moment. The navigation lights are also called positional lights. I've just turned the lights on here. Let's go outside and see if we can see where the navigation lights are at. And there we go. Navigation lights, the purpose of the navigation lights are to allow pilots off in a distance to be able to see the aircraft and to know its position in the air. On the right-hand side, or I'm sorry, on the left-hand side of the aircraft, you'll have a navigation light that will be red in color. That's so that when an aircraft approaches the Icon A5 from this direction, he knows that the Icon A5 has the right of way, and he should turn right to avoid a collision if necessary. On the other hand, on the left side, the right side of the aircraft is a green light. This also helps a pilot to understand the position of the aircraft and the direction that it's flying. Green light is an indication that the pilot that sees it has the right of way. In this case, the Icon A5 should see this aircraft and it should turn toward the left to avoid a collision. Sometimes there's a navigation light on the back of the aircraft. There is not in the case of the Icon A5. The position light, sometimes on the far back end, there's a white light, steady light that is there. That's also a position light, and it tells, if a pilot sees that, it knows that the aircraft is going away, or at least traveling in the direction that is away from his position. And so sometimes you see that as well. And it's not found on the Icon A5, obviously, at least not in this model. Let's go back inside and pick one of the other lights. We'll look at the strobe light next. Strobe light is also called an anti-collision light, and its purpose is to inform those who are around the aircraft or inside of the aircraft that the aircraft may be in a particular circumstance where collisions are possible. It's usually on the ground. It's usually turned on prior to starting the engine, sometime prior to starting the engine, so that ground crew around the aircraft knows that the engine is about to start and will try to avoid it. It's also turned on when crossing a runway. If the aircraft is taxiing from one place to another on the airport, then when it comes to a runway, it will turn the strobe light on to inform other aircraft, especially flying aircraft and aircraft that are taking off, that it is about to enter the runway. It would cross the runway, turn the light off, and continue on its taxi. And so in the air, it may or may not be turned on. Most commercial aircraft would have it turned on at night, and usually you'll see general aviation aircraft having it turned on at night as well. So if you're flying at night, it's a good idea to have the strobe turned on so that aircraft in your vicinity is able to see you and can avoid the aircraft. In this case, we see the strobe light on the ends of the wingtips, and it's a white strobe light. You should find one over here as well. Sometimes you'll see red strobe lights. Sometimes on, especially in commercial aircraft, there'll be a strobe light on top of the fuselage and on the bottom of the fuselage. Sometimes you'll see a strobe light on the tail, somewhere on the tail. So that's the strobe light. Next is the taxi light. This one fairly well makes sense. You turn the taxi light on when you are taxiing on the runway. It helps the pilot to see where he's going. Also, it informs others that you are moving on the, or that you're about to move on the tarmac. And then finally, the landing light. Very similar, looks almost identical to the taxi light, but it's brighter. It points down more so that when you are inclined in your takeoff or in landing, you'll be able to see the runway well with these landing lights. The landing lights are turned on when you enter the runway. The taxi lights would be turned off. Then the landing lights and the strobe lights both are turned on when you enter the runway for the takeoff. Then, when you land the aircraft, you keep your landing lights on as long as you are on the runway. Keep the strobe light on as long as you're on the runway. And then once you depart the runway, the landing lights turn off, the strobe lights turn off, and the taxi lights turn on. This is, of course, for a nighttime flight. During daytime flight, it's not absolutely necessary to turn on the landing lights or the taxi lights. When you come into park, this is especially true of commercial aircraft. When you come into park, the strobe lights would be turned back on before you get to the parking place to tell the personnel that's going to work the plane that the engine is running. And the strobe lights stay on until the engine is stopped and the plane is parked. Turning the strobe lights off tell the workers that it's safe now to approach the plane and begin to do their job. And so that's a short tutorial on the light system, the external light system of the airplane. We hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure that you click the like button below and to subscribe to our channel so that you know whenever something new is presented.